Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to CoreTV Midday News. I'm Gift Ogete. The Court of Appeal in Abuja has declared President Goodluck Jonathan eligible to seek re-election in the forthcoming presidential poll. It held that such as the president had only taken the oath of office as elected president only once in 2011, he was qualified to stand for election into the office a second time. The late judgment delivered by Justice Datijo Yayaha was unanimously consented to by 4 other members of the appeal panel. Justices Akomolafe Wilson, T.Y. Hassan, Ekanem Joseph and M. Mustafa were the other members of the panel. The judgment was in the appeal filed on April 16, 2013 by Cyracuse Njoku, challenging the verdict delivered by Justice Madashiru Onigangi, then of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory on March 13, 2013. Njoku had filed the appeal after Justice Onigangi dismissed Njoku's suit and held that President Jonathan was eligible to contest in 2015. Affirming the trial court judgment on Tuesday, the 5-man panel of the appellate court held that President Jonathan could not be said to have earlier taken the oath of office as president twice as he became president upon the death of President Umar Yar'Adua and not through election. The House of Representatives on Tuesday ruled against a perceived plot to remove the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Tahiru Jega, before the March 28 presidential election. It also insists that any further shift in the general elections would result in crisis in the country. The lawmakers took this decision on the basis of a motion by Representative Ali Hamid, who called on the federal government and other stakeholders to desist from interfering with the composition of the present INEC leadership and the rescheduled election date. Hamid urged the House to resist any attempt to remove Jega, but Deputy Leader Leo Ogo argued that the motion was speculative. The House subsequently resolved that the status quo as regards the elections be maintained.
Conscious of the current precarious security situation in the country, occasioned by the Boko Haram terrorist activities, the House notes that the initial postponement of the general elections for 6 weeks due to the security concerns related to the Boko Haram insurgency has further heightened the tempo of pre-electoral violence, alarmed by the possibility, threats and insinuation to precipitate actions that would cause further alteration to the status quo arrangements and regulation of the general elections, concerned that any alteration to the status quo arrangements in whatever form at this crucial stage would invariably lead to further postponement of the date of elections, further concerned that such threats to tamper with the status quo may take several forms, including but not limited to illegal removal of the current INEC chairman.
This motion, clearly, as good as you may hear it, is totally speculative. You have not been able to quote or tell us precisely what actually is happening. And where we sit down and we start taking speculative motions, I think at the end of the day we may draw some unnecessary conclusion. In the body of the motion, I did not hear any specific identification or a clear position. And I think it is extremely important that we don't just start speculating for unnecessary speculation. Nobody, and I repeat, nobody is interested in removing Jega. Because at the end of the day, we want a free and fair election. Hold on, please. Let me land. Hold on. Let me land. That is the prayer of the motion. Now, when you start...
Those in support of this motion, please say aye. Aye. Those against, please say nay. Aye. The ayes have it.
The presidency has taken a swipe at the leaders of the All Progressives Congress, saying they had resorted to propaganda, blackmail and deception because their imminent loss in the forthcoming general elections was staring them in the face. The special advisor to the president, Ruben Abati, describes as baseless, false and meaningless all allegations spared by the APC that President Goodluck Jonathan was planning another pull shift, making moves to sack the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Tahiru Jega, and taking steps to freeze accounts of some of its leaders. It says the opposition party has decided to heighten its level of hideous propaganda because of the sudden disappearance of its presidential candidate, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, retired. Abati argued that out of desperation, the APC leaders needed to occupy the media space without considering their shallow tactics. Akwa Ibom State Governor Godswill Akpabio is convinced that the People's Democratic Party would win the March 28 presidential election on the first ballot. He also boasted that President Goodluck Jonathan would win over 90% of the votes cast across the country. Akpabio said this at the end of a long-drawn strategy meeting at the presidential villa attended by PDP governors and governorship candidates.
The reality is that the party is strategizing on how to not just win election, but ensure that we win peace. It is very clear now that the opposition is in disarray, and I'm sure you have all seen that, because propaganda can only take you up to a limit, after which the reality becomes the norm. Today, Nigerians are much more aware of what the PDP administration under President Goodluck Jonathan had been doing. And I want to commend not just the president, but also members of the Federal Executive Council who have opened the eyes of Nigerians to know that so many things have been done in different sectors of the Nigerian economy. And of course, it was as if people did not know these things, and because the opposition took over, and they kept saying PDP was doing nothing, PDP was doing nothing, and yet, in 4 years of the president's tenure, this first tenure, he has achieved far more than any president had ever done in the history of our country. We are very proud of the achievements of the PDP, not just at the federal level, but also at the different states. And I can tell you something, that if you want to do a roll call, and then bring state by state, pick the opposition best state in Nigeria and compare it with the best state of the PDP, and you will see that we tower above the opposition in all ramifications. So the next election in 2015, particularly the election of the 28th of March, will be about performance, will be about issues, and Nigerians have since gone above the level of tribal.
Another PDP governor is exuding confidence about the party's electoral chances ahead of the rescheduled polls. Governor Gabriel Suswam of Benue State, like his Akwa Ibom State counterpart Godswill Akpabio, is confident that the ruling party will win with a landslide. He spoke with State House correspondent after a separate meeting presided over by President Goodluck Jonathan.
People have different ways of campaigning, and as a senatorial candidate, there's no way that I can be campaigning for my seat alone without campaigning for that of the president. You know, we have issues. In all political parties, there are issues. Different candidates have different issues. There are no universal issues across, you know, the length and breadth of the party. And so it is not true that people are not campaigning for the president. Yes, there are minor issues here and there, but those issues, like I said, you observed that since yesterday and today we'll be meeting. We're meeting because we want to be in charge, we want to be abreast. PDP is going to win this election landslide. There's no two ways about that. Forget about the noise and the propaganda. We're ready and willing, and all that we've done today, like I said, we've properly calibrated ourselves to win this election, and nothing is going to stop it. And so there's no issues of nobody campaigning for the president. We are all campaigning for PDP and all the PDP candidates across. Even if names are not mentioned, people say that vote for PD from House of Assembly to the presidency.
It's CoreTV Midday News. We'll take a break. Please stay with us.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on Digit 360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
It's still CoreTV Midday News. Welcome back. Now, for more information on CoreTV News, please catch us on our social media platforms. On Facebook, facebook.com/CoreTV News. On Twitter at CoreTV News NG. And on YouTube at youtube.com/CoreTV Space News. The national leader of the All Progressives Congress, Bola Tinubu, has petitioned the National Broadcasting Commission over a documentary aired by the Africa Independent Television. In the petition filed by his lawyer, Tunji Abayomi, described the one-hour documentary tagged Lion of Babylon as extremely libelous. In the petition addressed to the NBC Director General Emeka Mba, the former Lagos State Governor said the documentary, which has since been transmitted twice, was libelous and offensive to his reputation. He argued that the documentary violates rules and regulations regarding such political adverts, particularly during an electioneering year. In demanding sanctions against AIT, the petitioner wondered why he was signaled out for attack when he was not running for any elective post. The All Progressives Congress has threatened to sue the People's Democratic Party and its presidential campaign spokesman Femi Fani-Kayode if he fails to show proof that Professor Yemi Osibanjo is to resign for the party's national leader, Bola Tinubu, if Muhammad Buhari wins the March 28 presidential election. APC's presidential campaign team said in a statement that it is giving the PDP and Fani-Kayode 72 hours to either show evidence of the oath taken or retract the libelous claims. Campaign spokesman Garba Shehu said in a statement that the claim is not only an attack on the integrity and the reputations of the APC stalwarts, but also slanderous and libelous. The party insists that on a public apology to Osibanjo, Tinubu and APC, or be ordered to be charged to the court of law. Meanwhile, the vice presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Yemi Osibanjo, has demanded 2 billion naira as damages from the presidential spokesman of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Femi Fani-Kayode, for alleged publication and dissemination of defamatory statements against him. Osibanjo was also asking for immediate retraction within 7 days of the offensive and derogatory publication, as well as apology on 4 TV channels and 4 national newspapers circulating in all parts of Nigeria. Osibanjo made this request in a letter addressed to Fani-Kayode by Lagos lawyer Femi Falana's son on his behalf, complaining of defamatory statements made by the PDP presidential spokesman, broadcast on channels, television, and published in several newspapers, alleging that Osibanjo made a secret oath with Senator Bola Tinubu to be his surrogate as vice. On the other hand, spokesman of the PDP presidential campaign team, Femi Fani-Kayode, is seeking 5 billion naira in damages from the National Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, Lai Mohammed. These, according to him, as a result of a recent statement where the APC spokesman questioned Fani-Kayode's mental health. PDP campaign spokesman denied the publication as false, and his lawyers, Hamid Raji and co., are demanding a retraction and an apology within 7 days. They said in a 3-page letter that they have the authority of their client to enter into negotiation for 5 billion naira damages. The federal government has admitted owing fuel marketers 185 billion naira after paying about 320 billion naira in 2 installments in December last year. It also insisted that the fuel queues will disappear within the next 48 hours. Finance Minister Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala spoke on the sidelines of an agreement signing ceremony on mortgage financing in Abuja. She ordered that part of the debt would be cleared at a meeting slated for Wednesday.
As you know, we are very concerned about the queues that have formed. Government is very concerned about that and is working very, very hard. As Nigerians can attest, the Petroleum Ministry and NNPC have worked very hard to try and give out the message that there is no need for panic buying and that these queues will be disappearing in the closest possible time, because they are actually working very hard with the marketers to make products available. So this is something quite temporary. We sympathize with the public and the inconvenience, but I think these things will end. I think NNPC said today that within the next 48 hours, these queues should end as the supplies come in. And the NNPC spokesperson made clear that, that this is due to a number of factors that have come in, disruption of pipelines and some logistical issues in transporting the oil. But as far as we know, that supplies are on their way and should be both in Lagos and Abuja and other parts of the country in the nearest possible time. So we just wanted to say that and to clear also with regard to the financing where we are. If you recall, we had in December, both the beginning, I think it's December 2nd and December 30th, paid the marketers about 320.8 billion naira of what we owed them. And of course, we actually had this came from the excess crude account, and we paid them in 2 installments in December, 320.8 billion. We published it in the papers for everybody to see by marketer. And so this really talks about the seriousness with which the government takes this issue of trying to pay the marketers. Since this recent pressure from the marketers, we reached agreement with them last week. We met with them last week in Lagos to talk about how to take care of the balance of about 185 billion that we have, that we are owing them. And we are, as we speak, we reached agreement with them since last week on how to handle this, that we would be issuing them the usual SDNs.
Meanwhile, residents of Kaduna Metropolis have accused fuel marketers of seizing the opportunity of the nationwide fuel shortage to hoard the commodity. Many of them told CoreTV News that made this claim against the backdrop of the position of the NNPC officials on insufficient fuel supplies. Filling station operators, however, insist that they have not been receiving enough supplies in recent times.
Of recent, last week we got only 2. If there's 12 everywhere, government doesn't have to announce it. If you can drive to any station and buy your fare, government doesn't have to announce it. I already have my reservations even before I begin again.
Because the problem is from the top. The only thing that we the masses are facing a hardship. Because I was here since 1 hour ago.
I can only say this is is a disappointment to us, because it's a country where we have oil and everything. Then the Nigerians are worrying about oil all the time. It has been happening for the past how many years, but nothing has been done about it. So I don't actually even know whenever you go around the town, there's no oil all the station. It's only this mobile.
Well, I have been in this queue for over an hour. I started from Junior Hospital around 10 minutes to 11 o'clock. And up till now, 11:45, I'm still here. And we all don't know the cause of this war. Maybe it's political, maybe it's any other thing, we don't know. Maybe after a few days, they will now release the fuel. It might be a political propaganda, I don't know, because I'm not a politician. Forward is only maybe if we can get just leaders amongst us, people that can lead us properly, then maybe things will be all right. But honestly, we are suffering. We, the laymen around, we that we are not politicians, all the things that balls back, it balls back to us, and we don't have any business.
You're watching CoreTV Midday News. We'll take another break. Please stay with us.
You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website, www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime Days.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV, leave a space, then News. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
Good to have you. Stay tuned with us now. Outside Nigeria, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has warned that a deal under discussion on Iran's nuclear program could pave its way to the bomb rather than block it. In a speech to U.S. Congress punctuated by standing ovations, Netanyahu depicted Iran as a threat to the entire world. Talks on Iran's nuclear program are nearing a critical late March deadline on outline agreement to be reached. Netanyahu insisted that he was not trying to meddle in internal U.S. politics. The White House had criticized his plan to address Congress at Republican invitation without consulting the White House, saying the Israeli leaders was trying to swell U.S. opposition to an Iran deal. The U.S., UK, France, Germany, Russia and China are seeking to reach agreement to curtail Iran's nuclear program in exchange for sanctions relief. They fear Iran has ambitions to build a nuclear bomb, something Iran denies, insisting it is merely exercising its right to peaceful nuclear power. Negotiators are currently working towards a late March deadline for an outline agreement with Iran, which would be followed by a detailed deal by the end of June. And that's CoreTV Midday News. Thank you so much for watching. Please join us at 1 o'clock for another bulletin. I am Gift or Gete. Good afternoon.
You can now watch